Well, we're relatively on time today. That's a new one, you know. I got Rich Hooper here of The Journey. I hope he's not too shy. We're going to have to pull the conversation out of him. You know.
Microphone scares me.
Yeah, it's right. Why'd you say you had the face for radio or something like that?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But you got some changes coming up in The Journey. You talked about some podcast-related stuff. We'll talk about that. It's also your spring giving time, right? Mm-hmm. When does that start?
Next week, next Tuesday the 7th.
Okay. How long does it last?
Through the 10th, so through Friday morning.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So this is a big deal. Y'all do this once a quarter, right?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Twice a year, and we do some year-end fundraising as well.
So twice a year.
Mainly twice a year.
Well, good. So this is a big deal, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, y'all survive on donations like so many of the nonprofits do. We'll talk about what's going on in the nonprofit world because one of the advantages I have is I get to talk to several of them, and they're having considerations, shall we say, what's going on in the world is impacting them. You know, people like to think, oh, it's just the gas prices. No, it's more than that. That's impacting us. So when we're talking about world events, but we don't talk politics with the Rich because we're here to talk about the gospel. We're here to talk about the radio station. We're here to talk about what it does for a lot of people, like my wife. And, you know, for a lot of people, I listen to it, but I'm still stuck in the 70s. I'm sorry. I like to. If you start playing the Rolling Stones, I'm sure your audience.
Larry Norman. We played a little more Larry Norman.
There you go. Larry Norman. That's an interesting character. Do you know much about him?
I don't. No.
Well, that's an interesting story in itself. You know, what you need is somebody that knows all these stories and old time stuff. I know somebody.
You know somebody. Okay.
I know somebody. You know, I started listening to Christian music in about the 1976, 75, something like that, because a friend of mine started playing it, and the first song I heard was a Larry Norman song. I thought, that's Christian music? Now we're talking, you know, because most of the Christian music I listen to is, you know, the Imperials, and it's like, no thanks. It wasn't my style at all. It wasn't like I expected them to be like, you know, Kiss or something like that.
Right,
but, you know, I wanted something with some giddy up, and here comes Larry Norman. You know, but y'all play mostly contemporary stuff, right? I'm sure.
Yeah, contemporary Christian music. Yeah.
I'm trying to get all these guys shared here so they can all get a piece of the action here. There we go. That's who I was looking for. All right, and let's go ahead and talk about the sponsors so we can get on to the important stuff of the day. Well, it's all important.
It is all important.
You know, without these guys, you know, Our Place Restaurant is always a great place. I'll be there Monday with my Sunday school men. You know, we'll talk about the war. We'll talk about politics. We'll talk mostly about football. You know, because he's like, we can't do anything about it. So we'll bellyache about the Cowboys or college football or whatever else. Because we have a Longhorn and myself and for my Fighting Bears, and you have a Red Raider, and we got a Horned Frog. So we got a whole mix of them. So we have a lot of conversation. But anyway, Our Place is a great place to do that kind of thing. And the waitress staff, you know, you go there often enough, they know what you want. And, you know, we go there and then just start going around the table telling us what we're going to get. Right. Same with Gina's Pizza. I walk in there and, you know, they pretty much know roughly what I'm going to get. And, you know, so they're...
Still haven't been there yet. I need to go.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
Well, you've been so busy.
I know.
You've been out raising money.
Yeah, right.
Oh, whatever you've been doing. You know, it's a great place. It's a good place for relaxation. You know, they play blues music. They have the ball game on the TV. Get yourself pizza. Get yourself whatever you want there. I've tried their hot dogs, and they're really good. You know, Otto's from Chicago, so he has a Chicago dog with those sweet peppers on that. That's really good. Also, my friend John Williams, supposedly it's supposed to rain this week. I'm still skeptical. I'm a rain agnostic. I don't believe in weather. But you know, it always you get the forecasts, and it's like, oh, it's Noah's flood part 2, but then you get a little mist, and that's about it.
Yeah.
But it's a bad time to find out if they're actually right and your roof has a hole in it or some other leakage. So call John Williams at Old Pro Roofing, 817-734-2756. These are home folks. Their office is about a block from City Hall, so you know where to find them. They're not going to be a hit-and-run kind of operation that you don't hear from again if they don't do a good job, and they do a really good job. They get all great comments on the reviews on Google and such as that. So 817-734-2756. Have them come check out your roof. Also, Jeff Kelly, with his jokes of the day.
Jokes of the day.
You see them,
Jeff.
do you?
I do, yeah.
Okay, they're funny.
Yeah.
817.
Some of them.
Some of them. Whether they're either funny or they're groaners.
Yeah.
a
A groan or a laugh. They're both responses. So
817-781-0546 or Jeff at jeffkellyrealty.com with the Wethington Agency here in town, another local, which is good to go. We got these multi-state operations, and they're all fine and dandy, but you want somebody that you know where to find them, and he lives here in town and things of that nature, so he knows Johnson County very well. Also, thank you to this gentleman, Rod Lewis. Have you met Mr. Lewis?
I have.
Okay.
Yes.
You ought to get it in his paper. A good
we're
opportunity.
talking about that.
Yeah. He had an article recently about auto, and he's talked about this podcast one. And, the thing is, right now it's very small, and it wants to be bigger, of course. Are you advertising? I know he and I swap. Mm-hmm. So
that's one of the things we're talking about. Is kind of trading out some promotion.
Yeah. Well, it's good to do. You have because you go to like Daydream Coffee or the barbershop, hair salon, whatever. Mechanics, whatever. There's copies there, and people miss holding the newspaper. I get morning news, and they only print Wednesdays and Saturdays or Sundays. And I miss the news, newspaper.
Right.
But most people, I tell my students about newspapers, I might as well tell them I was chiseling it on a rock or something, cave paintings or something. But anyway, Burleson News Express, it's all over town. It's in a lot of the government buildings, senior citizen place, City Hall, library, all the above. Also, this is a new one, True Climate. They came out yesterday morning. To check out my air conditioner, and they're very professional. They're very courteous, to say the least. 682-244-2019. They came out to check my air conditioner. What I liked, my wife really liked, was that about 10 minutes before they got there, they sent a text with the photos of the gentleman that'll be at our door. So that's a new thing. I thought it's a good thing because some people get a little antsy about having strangers in their home.
Oh yeah,
and crawling all over their attic or whatever they're doing. And so here, I know these people though. Will Cobb and his sister Emily Cobb are Burleson graduates, and so the Burleson people, and they're in my BNI group, so I can recommend them personally as well. And that's what I like about the sponsors is I can recommend them as people, not just as businesses. But what I really liked, what my wife really liked, was they come out and they're very, professional. They're dressed appropriately, and did their job without wasting a lot of time. And there you go. And it was affordable. If you get on their yearly plan, you can get pretty cheap updates. But you want to find out if your air conditioner is ready for the summertime. Definitely, you don't want to find out in July that you had this problem you could have prevented. And we'll do the nonprofits at the end. We got lots going on. One of your favorite outfits got some stuff coming up in the next couple of weeks. Next step.
Yeah.
Have you had Megan and Summer on yet?
We have.
Okay.
Yeah, and they'll be coming out next week to help us. We always help each other with the different fundraisers, and we're part of their Walk for Life. I'll be out there playing music and hyping everybody up. And
there you go.
And we promote their events on the station, and they help us with our events as well. I see it as a partnership. Really,
it is.
It really is.
Well, Summer is part of my BNI group as well, and so she tells us all what's going on with them. And she did mention the last time that y'all would be hyping up their Walk for Life, because that's one of their two big fundraisers. But let's talk about the journey. All right. I know that raising funds is probably, it's an acquired taste, shall we say. It's tough sometimes.
Yeah.
How do you do it?
Well, I would much rather have to get to raise funds than to be a commercial station and play 8 minutes worth of commercials every half hour.
Boy, that drives me crazy. I listened to a talk show, like a sports talk show, The Fan.
Yeah.
And it's like 14 minutes of content, 9 minutes of commercials.
Oh, yeah.
Or less content. And then when they waste their time talking about junior high junk or, silly, goofy stuff they had for dinner that night before, it's like, well, that was wasted time.
Yeah, that's how they pay their bills, and, through their commercial broadcast. We are a non-commercial station. We're registered with the federal FCC as a non-commercial station. So although we do have businesses that support us, about 20% of our income is from businesses that will support the journey, and then in return we say thank you by running a little 30-second spot, say, thanks to Mr. Allard's Neighborhood for their support, $10,000 a year. That's hypothetical. It's hypothetical.
Very, very subtle. Okay, I like that.
And we don't give amounts when we thank people. I just do that for your benefit. But but that is, and then 80% of our income is from listeners that listen to the journey, and they say, you know what, our life has changed. We are encouraged every single day through the music. And so we want to help support you. That's why we do twice a year, spring and fall. We do our on-air fundraisers. We call them our celebrations. And we just encourage people that listen, if you do listen to the journey and you've never given before, try it and give a one-time gift or a monthly gift.
So you could do the recurring donations.
Do recurring, and you tell us how much and what day of the month you want it, and we take care of the rest, and it's done automatically for you. And
it's tax deductible.
It's tax deductible because we're a nonprofit 501c3. We're owned by Southwestern Adventist University. They're in Keene, so we fall underneath their 501c3 nonprofit number. And so, and the thing that I also love about the journey, you talked about a lot of your sponsors, and the big point for them is that they're here, they're local. Well, the journey is a local station.
Right.
I mean, we are owned and operated locally right here in Johnson County. We cover Johnson and Southern Tarrant County terrestrially through 88.3 FM, and then you can listen to our app no matter where you are in North Texas.
Right. Because I've heard it in Corsicana when we were over there. My mother lives over there, and so I've heard we've done it before. But the thing about it, what you mentioned also, is you mentioned it. It's under Southwest Adventist University's 501c, but it's a non-denominational station.
It is.
So I mean, do y'all have shows that talk about doctrine and such, or is it primarily just music?
Primarily music. We do have some what we call short form features that talk about marriage, talks about family, raising teenagers. They're more encouraging, speaking to life issues. We don't really get into a lot of doctrinal. Every now and then we'll have Max Lucado, like a 1-minute Max Lucado bit, and he'll talk something about eschatology or something. But most of the time it's just encouragement for your walk for life. That's why we're Radio for the Walk of Life. Our mission is to keep you encouraged with great music, great Christian music.
Right.
That's our number one mission, the number one goal. And I always like to say, secondarily, our goal is to keep you informed about what's going on in the community and really super serving all of the communities that we serve within Johnson, Southern Tarrant County. Some of the outlying counties, we cover portions of them as well: Hill, Somerville, Ellis. But Johnson County is right in the heart of our coverage. And so we want to super serve those communities. And how do we do that? We talk about what's going on there. We partner with Next Steps. We partner with Cleburne Pregnancy Center. We partner with Harvest House. We partner with When We Love, which is a homeless ministry in downtown Fort Worth. We partner with them by not only raising awareness about them and maybe some fundraising things they have, but throughout the year, we'll actually ask our listeners to help donate food for Harvest House, which we'll do in May for their summer food program. And in November and December, we're collecting socks for When We Love and Homeless Ministry in Fort Worth, and also Operation Blessing in Cleburne. And last year we collected some 2,600 pairs of socks for them.
I'm not familiar with Operation Blessing. What is that?
Operation Blessing is a ministry to those who are needy in the Cleburne area. Now, they cover Johnson County.
Right.
And so it's pretty much the same. They have a thrift store. They do a lot of what Harvest House does in Burleson. Operation Blessing does in the Cleburne area.
Well, do me a favor then. You obviously have connections. Hook me up with them, because I like doing those kind of shows.
Gloria Jones does a great job there.
And, I like to think this show has a reach besides just, the immediate Burleson area.
Sure, yeah.
I've had the Crowley House of Hope on.
Yeah.
Their director just retired about 3 months ago, so I need to find out who's running that shop now. But so if, you have my information and give it to her.
Absolutely.
And why not?
And we would love to get connected with Crowley House of Hope to really talk about what's going on there as well.
They have a pretty good operation, to say the least. I'm really impressed with that. But they have besides a thrift store and the pantry, they also have a medical clinic. It's not open 24/7, but it's open on certain time frames. And so people can get, some medical needs taken care of, checkups, whatever. I mean, if it's something serious, we'll send them to the ER. But if it's, if it's something like they need something for the kid who has the cold or the flu or something like that, they can take care of that. And so it's a real blessing.
Well, the thing that we can do at the Journey is we can be the mouthpiece, the megaphone for what's going on. We don't do those things ourselves. We don't try to meet the needs of the homeless. We don't try to feed hungry. We don't try to do any of that. What we do is we partner with these organizations so that we can broadcast, literally proclaim out to the communities that are listening what's going on, so that as the listeners hear different things, I got a message. You can actually chat with us through our app. There's a feature there you can chat on the app. And someone asked the question just this morning, I saw it. What was that ministry you talked about that ministers to homeless? I have a neighbor who's struggling with that and could use help. So for us to be the connector for these different organizations, someone who's experiencing a crisis pregnancy. Well, if you're in the Cleburne area, the Cleburne Pregnancy Center, and Burleson area, it's Next Step Women's Center. So we can be that connector, and that's what we want to do. Primarily, we want to be that encouragement that you need. And as you know, there's all kinds of news and all kinds of things that you hear all day long that can just really be discouraging.
It's a beating some days.
It is a beating. And we need to stay informed. And I'm not saying we should stick our head in the sand, but you need that infusing of hope. And so that's exactly what we're here to do, is to be that 24/7, 365, just that infusion of hope and encouragement through great Christian music. A lot of what our announcers will share on the air between songs will be encouraging, funny, sometimes corny, depending on, for Rich and Tanya in the morning when we're on, it's dad jokes galore, because that's just my thing, you know. So that's primarily why we're here. I love that we're here locally owned and operated. In fact, you and I have talked about this, but we are one of the only locally owned and operated stations in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex.
Oh, sure.
There's only one other station that's locally owned and operated. Everybody else, they play good music, but they're in Nashville, Tennessee, or Sacramento, California, or other places, and they're just piping everything in.
Right.
We're here. We're operating here. We're programmed here. We care about what's going on in this area. Plus, you're going to hear the same, if not, in my opinion, better music on our station than you will any other station in Dallas.
What interests me, though, is the fact that you are locally owned and can focus on that, because I remember back in my youth, you know, that was the norm for radio stations. They may be owned by a conglomerate, but they were all locally based. Now you can go from coast to coast, and it's basically the same music and the same formats and whatever else, and you don't have much local disc jockeys or whatever, and that's not so good. I remember the first one. What was that? Jack FM, I think, was one of the first that really was just, it didn't have any DJs.
Yeah, right.
And that kind of thing. And the music was fine, but it's like, you know, I grew up in the 1970s where the Rock and Roll Zoo, KZEW, and that kind of stuff, or Q102 with Bo and Jim in the morning, and these become pretty familiar faces and voices to you.
And you liked being able to go out and see them at different events. When Kid Craddock was working at the Eagle, this was before he went to KISS FM, they were out doing these promotions where they were giving away cars. And so, you know, they'd go out and they would be on location. Well, that's the thing that we could do. During our sock drive that we did back in November or probably in December, Tanya and I, for our morning show, we broadcast live from Chick-fil-A in Cleburne. So we're out at these locations. We're out in the public. You can come visit with us. You can come. We'll pray with you. You can win prizes. We're at the different concerts. Third Day had their 30th anniversary concert this past Friday night. We were there. We had a booth. We had some of our announcers there. We gave away prizes. And so that's really what it's all about. It's about being locally present, locally relevant, but yet providing the same great music that you can get at other places, but we're locally connecting with you.
Oh, I know it works, because when my wife and I get in a car and she turns on the radio and there's a song she really likes, she talks about how this song has been a real blessing to her. And all this, when we're, going through some sort of emotional thing or whatever, family, I've been telling people about my mom and my late father and all this. And, so we're going through these kind of things. And she'd say, this song really speaks to me, really lifts me up and all this other stuff. And that's a real treasure to have that. And I know there are other stations that play the same songs, but it doesn't have the same connection when you know that there's somebody behind the mic.
Right.
And that, particularly since I know who's behind the mic, but that we know that this is not some broadcast like you say out of Nashville. Local radio still means a big thing.
Sure.
I tried it with my online station, and I never got the traction that y'all do. So I had to pull the plug because I was just throwing money away on it back in. So I pulled it in November, and I really regret having to do that. But
it's a lot of work.
It's
and a lot of funding, a lot of capital that you've got to put into it.
That's the deal. Is I didn't have enough funding to promote it more than just here or maybe a couple other places. But it was like. There's a lot of money that needs just to get your name out there, isn't there?
And online exclusive is tough to launch and to maintain and to sustain. Because there's a thing, as on-demand listening has become more and more popular, podcasts and Spotify. When satellite radio came about, us radio guys thought, terrestrial radio is going to die because everybody's going to be listening to satellite. Well, you have to have a subscription. So people are like, I don't want to pay $15. And then even with on-demand listening, that has really increased in popularity. It's surprising to me, but I'm glad to see that radio listening, what we call terrestrial radio listening, has not really decreased as much as everybody thought it would.
Yeah.
And in some demographics, it's actually staying the same or increasing. There's certain scenarios that people like, mainly if they get in their car driving to work, they like to hear the radio. They want to hear the variety of music and friends that they hear, hosts, DJs, some weather, some news, different tidbits that are all in this one source of a radio station. They still like to hear radio, and I'm glad they do.
Well, I have Spotify and all that business, and so sometimes, particularly when that sports talk show is wasting all my time with something stupid, I'll play that. But I still, why do I listen to terrestrial radio is because I like the fact that it's a human being as opposed to just a playlist or whatever.
Right.
Or if it's a podcast, I tune in for a podcast every now and then with intention, but I still like the more personal connection, live, it's going on at that time, feel more connected to whatever is going on in the world, I suppose. I still listen to sports on the radio. Even if it's on television, I may just listen to the Ranger game on the radio.
Yeah.
Because it just it's what I grew up doing.
Yeah, right.
Same with the Cowboys. If they're playing, even if it's on TV, like the Allard, I'd
love to listen to them lose. And I can say that because I'm a Cowboy fan.
Yeah, me too.
30 years of frustration, but still love the Cowboys.
Heard that.
Still going to cheer for them.
But, what really is hard about getting that online station I had was exactly what you put your finger on, is that people have their listening habits, and I didn't have the capital to try to entice them to give me a shot at changing their habits. And so, and this is what comes back to you, the fundraising. It's not just salaries that you're putting out there. I mean, there's a lot of other expense running a radio station.
Sure. And when we talk about raising funds, we tell people we're not asking you to pay our bills, although we do pay our bills. We're asking you to get behind the vision of the journey, the mission of the journey, and most importantly, to respond to how the journey has impacted your life. If, like Robin, when you listen to a song and you hear it and you're like, oh, that song really touches me, think about how that song was available to you when you needed it, right? The right song at the right time. We hear that all the time. But that's only possible because people have, for the last 50 years, that's how long we've been on the air, for the last 50 years, people have given to make sure that we are not only on the air, but growing and continuing to improve so that we can reach more and more people.
50 years. I would have wondered what the playlist back in 1978 was for this station.
It was interesting from what I hear. I didn't listen to it, obviously, but it was interesting. We've gone through 3 different sets of call letters and throughout the 50 years. When we became The Journey, actually the station, which was on campus of Southwestern, was struck by lightning, and it literally burned. And so they had to build it from the ground up. And so they rebranded and they changed the call letters. The call letters are those, KJRN, are the call letters that we have with the FCC. Some stations still go by the call letters. We go by The Journey. We rebranded about 15 years ago or so. And so that's how long we've been doing this format. But we've adapted it. I've been here about 3 years, a little more than 3 years, and we've changed and adapted and tweaked it as we've gone along.
But it's always been a Christian station.
It's always been Christian.
Yeah, I can't imagine the
Always
college,
owned by the college, yeah.
Yeah, I just can't see the college who are going to be playing, the hot country hits or whatever.
Right,
so,
right.
Or anything like that.
Not intentionally.
Or disco. And so back in the 70s, what an abomination that was.
Yeah.
But as far as, trying to maintain all this, I mean, it's more than just, profession. It's your avocation as well.
Yeah.
Because there's something more than just a job, obviously.
Sure.
And that's where I always ask the nonprofits, how do you find that motivation? Because some days you have to wake up and think, I could have been a banker or whatever, something like that.
Yeah. In my almost 40 years of doing radio, there have been years that I have worked at stations as a job. They were, and not throwing shade at mainstream stations or secular stations, because there's good Christian people that work at these stations. But to work there and knowing it was a job, it was. I enjoyed radio, but at the end of the day, there was not a lot of fulfillment. But to be able to do radio, the medium that I love, but to do it for a greater good, greater purpose of proclaiming the hope of Jesus into people's lives, I'm still amazed again at how God will use this medium of radio, that we just throw it out there, and at any time somebody can turn on the radio and hear it. Somebody can get online and find us through our website or through our app, and they can hear what's being said or what's being sung. To me, it's amazing that millions and millions of people have the potential of hearing it. It's just, we need to make sure that people know we're here. There's still people, someone may be watching right now going, The Journey, I've never listened. That's great. Try us. But then there are some people who are like, we've been listening for 20 years. I grew up listening with my mom, be going to school and listening to The Journey. Now I'm listening as a parent. So we're hearing that from people.
In your background, you worked for non-Christian stations?
Most of mine has been Christian stations, but I have worked for some. When I first started, I worked for secular stations.
Okay,
yeah.
and
country and
we're not talking
oldies.
about something you weren't playing like weird stuff or whatever. We're talking about, but it wasn't particularly Christian oriented.
Yeah, my first radio job was in Brownwood, Texas, and I worked for KBWD, and that was an oldies station. And when I say oldies, we're playing Perry Como and Andy Williams.
Oh, Lord.
Percy's orchestra.
You must have really needed a job.
Well, I loved it because it was my first radio job.
Right.
But it was, I was 19, 20 years old. I couldn't relate to the music. Although I'm a musician, I can appreciate good music. And
Well, Perry Como was a good singer, but
he's great. But it just wasn't my style,
Josh, you like Perry Como?
A little bit before my time.
Do you know who Perry Como is?
A whole lot before.
Holy
You probably
moly.
have heard him, his Christmas
music, yeah.
Most of the time, people will hear Perry Como
Right.
and Bing Crosby through the
surely.
Christmas.
Yeah, I know Bing Crosby.
Okay, all right. I was thinking, you living in a cave? You know Bing Crosby.
Yeah.
Andy Williams, Moon River, all that.
Moon River. I remember playing that one. And then they had the other sister station they owned was a country station. And so I worked there. And so, I've worked for 2 or 3 what we call mainstream stations.
Right.
And again, I enjoyed it, nothing wrong with that. But when I got into Christian radio, specifically non-commercial Christian radio, so we could spend more time playing music and not having to play commercials, that's when I really began to be fulfilled, because this is a ministry, it not just a medium, and so The Journey, it's near and dear to my heart. I would say it's not near and dear to my heart because I'm the manager. I would say I'm the manager because it's near and dear to my heart. I really love what The Journey has been doing over the last few years, and have now become part of it, so I can help continue to see it grow.
So that kind of answers my questions. That's why I get you up in the morning, because
Yes.
all the nonprofit people I talk to are motivated, but they have to. Sometimes they need that well refilled a little bit.
Yeah.
The cup of motivation needs to be refilled, because it's a tough thing, and kind of something we talked about prior to the show is that I'm talking to these other nonprofits, and they're getting a lot of people that saying, I'm worried about what's going on in the world and the economy. My costs are going up because of X, Y, and Z, and so they're getting it's getting just that much more difficult to raise money.
Yeah. And if I could just preach a 2-minute sermon,
You get after it.
here's what we have to do. I've talked with Amber at Harvest House, and with Summer and with Meredith at Cleveland Pregnancy, we've all talked about this idea that we have to remind ourselves that God is our source. Those that He speaks to support us are the resource that He uses to provide the funds to do what we do. Now, we communicate to the resource. We communicate to those who donate, who give. But at the end of the day, if we see fewer people giving or different people giving, we have to go back to our dependency is not on them. Our dependency is on God, who called us to do what we're doing first and foremost. Now, we also need to do the good work of being good stewards to make sure that we're letting the need be known. Here's what we need. Here's how you can help. But at the end of the day, we have to trust in God, just like every one of us have to do for our personal finances, our personal income and things that may be affected by the economy. At the end of the day, if we don't put our trust in God, then it is like a house that's built on sand, and it will crumble. But I'm thankful that we have that solid foundation, and at the journey, we do have that solid foundation. God is our source. But I don't want to let people off the hook to say, then let God pay you, because I have not yet seen money fall from the sky.
That's not how it works.
He could do it, but He chooses to partner with people to help support the work that He is doing.
Well, it's not biblical to say, let God pay for everything. We are, as I hear this phrase a lot, the hands and feet of Jesus.
Sure.
I hear that phrase a lot, but we are the instruments of God. And so it's our duty to respond to what we can, and I know some people I know just say, I wish I could give more money to all these outfits. But, I say, look, think about the widow's mites, all right? What she would have preferred to give, other than the last 2 cents she owned, she probably could have like to dumped in a big chunk of money like everybody else was doing.
Yeah.
But she gave what she could, and it was sacrificial. If I'm Elon Musk and I give you $1 million, so what? I blow that in 20 minutes.
Right.
But if I gave you $10 and that was like half of what I had, that's a lot different.
Yeah, we've said this before. It's really not the amount you give; it's the heart behind the gift. The amount is only important if it is. If you give us $10 and you could have given us 10,000, or if so really it's the heart of generosity. And I will say this: this is how much I believe in the partnership that we have in the community of nonprofits. That I would love if you gave a lot of money to every nonprofit. If you can't give a lot of money to all the nonprofits and you have to choose one. And if it's not the journey, that's okay. If you find a nonprofit that's doing good work and you want to get behind them and you want to support them in a big way, then I would say do that. I would love for it to be the journey, but I would rather you give to some of these other nonprofits than to not give to any of them, so we can continue our work.
Well, and it's like the next step. I go to their galas, and they do their very best to make people feel like that whatever they're giving is what we appreciate.
Sure.
And we're not counting the zeros.
Yeah.
Because they'll tell you, every time I had these on all the time, I hear they tell stories about this person that gets $5 a month or $10 a month, and to that retiree or that widow or something like that, that's something that she's going to have to do without somewhere else.
Yeah. Right.
So they love those stories.
Absolutely.
Because, we've all been there. We go to these events or go to church or whatever, and then, you just, gosh, I wish I could just finance the whole thing. But, God didn't put me in that position, but He did put me in a position to give $10 and that kind of thing.
In fact, you probably wouldn't finance the whole thing if you had a lot of money, if you're not already doing what you can with what you have.
I always thought if I did that, though, I'd be taking away the blessings from others.
Absolutely.
Because like at my church, if we had like a big project going on and needed X amount of money, and I said, I can just write you a check for X amount of money. I've just taken away an opportunity for others to be blessed.
Yeah.
So,
and here's the thing about most nonprofits. If you were to say, I will underwrite your entire year's budget, we would still present the need for other people to join us because there are other things that can be done. Most of the time, there are capital needs that we have to delay or deny because we are, number one, making sure our operational fund is taken care of. But even at the station, we would love to be able to increase our reach terrestrially. We'd love to have other frequencies in the Fort Worth area, in the Dallas area where you could hear us on the radio across more of the Metroplex. And so in order to do that, we have to have the capital funds to do that. We're talking $2-3 million to buy a frequency. There was one that was available recently. I won't say where it was, and it would cover all of Tarrant County, 770,000 people that could listen to The Journey, and it was $750,000. And so there's always a need for other things like that if large sums of money were given. So there's, even if you said we want to help, this, there are still plenty of other opportunities for people to give to that could help support not only just the operation, but also the growth and expansion and things you want to do that you're not able to do now.
What you need is one of those clear channels that go all the way to Oklahoma, because I can hear WBAP
Absolutely.
up there.
Man, those AM signals, they travel forever. Is the way they operate.
Yeah, but so I'm not a technology guy at all, so it isn't just a matter of turning the crank up a little higher.
Right.
There's all sorts of technology you have to adapt, and also permission to be able to do this.
You have to purchase the frequency from someone who owns it already. In Dallas, all of the frequencies are owned. Some of these markets, there are frequencies that are available that nobody owns, but Dallas, they're all owned by someone. So there may be someone that's trying to sell a frequency, depending on the power of the frequency, whether it's a low power or high power. Some stations in Dallas, if you can hear a station all across the whole Metroplex, they're 100,000 watts. I mean, there's just what we call a blowtorch, right? You just hear them everywhere. We're at 9,000 watts. So that's why we cover just a smaller portion. So what we would need to do to expand across the Metroplex is to purchase other little translators or transmitters that we could broadcast on that would then increase our reach.
But you wouldn't have to change your call letters or your frequency, would you?
You would have to change the frequency.
So it would be 88.3, the Journey.
It would be 97.9, the Journey, or whatever that frequency is. But it would be the same programming.
Sure.
And then we would just say, hey, if you want to listen to the Journey, you can listen to 88.3, 97.9, and different.
Yeah. Oh, I see. So you can have them both, right?
Yeah.
You become like an empire.
There you go.
Yeah, you take on what is it? Sirius, is that the big one, or
iHeartRadio is the mainstream, and there's others for Christian that we won't name the names of, but that are really just buying a lot of these stations across the nation and just
Cumulus station
becoming chains of stations.
Yeah,
So,
that's another thing I tell kids about in my government classes. That used to be there used to be prohibitions against that many years ago.
Yeah.
You could own so many outlets of media. You had like BAP Radio, WFA Television, and the Dallas Morning News. I think were owned by Belo a long time ago. Now you have like in Dallas like 4 different radio companies that own like 90% of the frequencies.
Right. Yeah.
And it's I'm not so crazy about that.
I will say though that one good thing about these bigger organizations being able to purchase a lot of frequencies, the one good thing about it is it has now, specifically talking about Christian format, Christian stations, this CCM format, contemporary Christian music format, is the #1 radio format right now.
In the country?
Among every format.
In the United States?
In the United States.
Is that right?
So if you're going to hear almost, I wouldn't say you're going to hear more Christian stations, but it's the #1 choice across the nation.
Really
is Christian format.
I could see that in Dallas, Fort Worth area, because we have a lot of this is the Bible Belt after all. But I'm just saying, is that still true in Seattle or Minneapolis or New York?
Right.
But I guess what you're telling me, yeah. I think the Christian radio audience is more committed to the radio and to the music than maybe just your typical radio listener who flips through the channels all the time.
Sure.
Or whatnot. I don't know many rock and rollers or anything personally, but I did know a couple that were involved, and they said that the most loyal fans they had, was country. They would be there show after show on after that. But Christian radio, I know develops not just a following, but it's almost like a devotion to it.
It's a loyalty.
A loyalty. That's the better word.
And so when I talk to businesses and we talk to them about supporting the station, we tell them, because we're non-commercial, I cannot promise you foot traffic. What's going to get foot traffic is you say, mention this ad and you get 20% off, or tell them you heard about it. So I cannot do without getting into a lot of the gobbledygook, I can't do call to action
Right.
for a for-profit company.
Right.
So for Our Place, I cannot say, go to Our Place, mention the journey, you get 20% off. That's commercial language. So what we have agreed to with the FCC is to say, thanks to Our Place for their support of 88.3 The Journey. They serve pancakes. They do this. Their hours are this. More information can be found at. So I can give the information, but it's more of a thank you and telling people what they do. So when I talk to the businesses, I said, what I'm really appealing to is the philanthropic side, for you to see what we do, but also when listeners hear that you're supporting the journey and they're loyal to the journey, they'll have a certain affinity to your business because you're supporting something they love.
That's absolutely true. Oh, I know it's true because I hear that, a lot of people, it's not so much that I have that same kind of loyalty, but they'll tell Otto, oh, I heard about this on Mr. Allard's neighborhood.
Yeah.
Or Next Step, they'll be on next week, I believe. No, in about 2 weeks, right before their walk. And so, we talk about those things, and because they heard about Next Step on the radio, or or your station, or mine, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
That it does. Yeah, there's some benefit to us for it, but it's not. We're not doing it for the money. I can tell you that.
Right.
At least I'm not.
Right. Yeah. You can look at our rates and know that we're not. The business underwriting that we do is very reasonable. Why? It's because that's not the backbone of our support. We're doing that to give businesses, and a lot of the smaller businesses an opportunity to support, and so it's more reasonable to support the station for $450 a month, and then you get all these spots, and you get on our websites, and you get all that stuff in return. And again, it's to say thank you, and there's got to be a win-win, right? You wouldn't be able to do that if there wasn't something that's in it for you, and that's why we put you on the website and other places too.
Speaking of websites, we have, I think, loaded up.
Yeah.
We could talk about some of the things that you got going on.
Yeah.
It's coming. There it is.
883thejourney.org is our website, and we've got concerts that we help promote, Weekend to Remember Marriage conferences. So that's just a lot of things that we have said. Let me just kind of point you to what's here. You can listen live right there where it says listen live. You can click there and listen to the journey no matter where you are.
On your phone and or laptop, yeah.
In fact, over where it says get our apps, you can download the app for either iPhone or Android there on that page. And then the middle button where it says on demand, that's a podcast hub where you can go and listen to great podcasts like Mr. Allard's Neighborhood.
Yeah.
Right there on that.
Speaking of which, I noticed that, are you pulling those podcasts off of where are you getting it from? I mean,
I'll have to look and see. I set it up quite a while ago, and it's supposed to automatically update, but I'll have to check.
Well, because I used to have Apple and Spotify.
Okay.
Is that where you're getting it from?
May be getting it from Spotify.
And see, that's because I noticed the last one they had was the last time I was on Spotify.
Okay.
And so that's one reason maybe it's not quite up to speed, because I dropped Apple and Spotify about a year ago because they're just so hard to deal with.
Yeah.
And I may get it again. So that's I think that's explaining, because we were looking at it before and it's like, wait, that's been a little while. But that's also at the same time I dropped it up.
Once we get it set up, it should be automatically updating any of the podcasts that we have.
Or maybe our YouTube, you can use that link if that's how it's possible.
Up at the top, you see the pulsing button there, the Give Now button. That's a great way to give.
Or let's see that Give button.
Too. And then also, Josh, can you go to the page that we have talked about, which was the page that talks about our fundraiser coming up? Our spring celebration is what we call it, April the 7th through the 10th, next week.
Where is it? This isn't the particular one, is it? I mean, it talks about it a little bit, but you had a pop-up that was...
Oh, yeah, this is what it is there's a pop-up. When you go to our website, there's a pop-up that comes up, and when you click it, it takes you to this page right here. And so our theme this year is Best News Ever. It's a song by Mercy Me, but how that there's all kinds of news, especially a lot of current events going on. But what we're talking about is not just good news. It's the best news ever, which is the news of the Jesus, and that it deserves to be heard, so you can help with that. And Josh, if you don't mind scrolling down, I want to show the different levels of giving. And we say get in where you fit in, choose the level of impact, and join the mission. There's 3 different suggested ways you can give whatever you want to give. The first one is $30 a month. We call that Team 360. It's $30 a month. It's $360 a year. We actually this year are giving away a Team 360 T-shirt. Everybody who joins Team 360 at $30 a month or more. $60 a month is a day sponsor where you can personally sponsor a broadcast day and say, okay, I want March 28th as my day, and we'll run announcements basically every other hour. We run an announcement to say today is sponsored by Brad and Robert Allard in honor of their 155th anniversary.
That's pretty close.
So,
you're getting there. Sure feels like it.
And then you can do that for your anniversary, a child's birthday, so you can be a day sponsor. That's $60 a month or more. And then a legacy partner is $100 a month. We have quite a few people who do that to say, I want to give to help those who maybe can't give. They can give a one-time gift of $100. I want to do $100 a month, and that's what we call a legacy partner. And you can give that way. Now, any of these, you can give one-time gifts. You don't have to do monthly. Monthly helps us because our bills are monthly. We hardly ever have one-time bills.
Exactly.
And so if you can give on a monthly basis, that would be helpful. Take the amount that you want to give and break it out. We'll help you do that. So even though our fundraiser, our celebration starts next Tuesday, we actually have we're encouraging people to go ahead and get involved now with what we call our Kickstarter this week, to say, can you help kickstart our celebration so that by the time we go on the air with our fundraiser, we've already raised, $10,000, $15,000, $20,000. Our goal is $100,000 by the end of our fundraiser.
And it's 6th through 10th of next week, right?
Yes.
Now, is this similar to what we see in PBS or KXT? It's another station. It's a nonprofit. I don't. You're probably familiar with them.
I am. Yeah.
Yeah, and they play a different kind of music.
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
And I've listened to it a few times, and they do the same thing. You know, they'll play some music, and then they'll say, okay, we're doing our fundraiser, and then we need X amount or whatnot, or this hour we're going to raise $100 or $1,000 or whatever like that. Is it?
It's exactly like that. Yeah, we'll have people, volunteers that will actually be at the station. In fact, if you want to give financially, great. If you want to come volunteer, you can. From 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., we'll be live on the air. And we'll say, call this number, 844-298-4883.
What is that again?
844-298-4883. And when you call that number, we'll have volunteers that will actually take the call and take your donation and put it in the system. You can still give online. A lot of people choose to do that. We'll have volunteers that are on the phone. They're at the station. We'll have food and snacks, and it's going to be a big party. So
it reminds like a Seinfeld episode where they're raising money, or a Frasier episode. You ever seen that? When he gets caught on the air saying, "Who listens to PBS?" But anyway, everybody's there sitting there answering the phone. Is that you live stream this as well?
We do.
So you'll be able to hook up on some sort of app or
you'll be able to,
Facebook.
it's going to be on the air. So wherever you listen, whether it's terrestrially over 88.3 FM, or if you listen through our app, you'll be able to hear the whole thing. And here's the other thing: it's not just us for 12 hours a day saying, "Give money, please give money." We're playing great music still.
Of course.
We're not talking the whole time. But we're also telling stories about how the journey has impacted people, hearing from them. And so it's really a good time. That's when we call it Spring Celebration, celebrating what God has done and then giving everybody an opportunity to come and help support it.
Well, I was thinking, what I was really asking is about live streaming, not so much audio, but video.
You mean video?
Video, yes.
Man, I would love to do that.
Yeah.
I haven't quite got it set up to do that yet.
Yeah.
So every fundraiser, I'm like, we're going to do that this time. And I just don't.
Well,
So
it's a lot
I
of
need
trouble.
to figure that out.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
I know. I just hang around these guys.
Yeah.
Over here, all these computer jockeys. It's tough enough.
Right.
I know enough to push a button.
Josh to pack all this up and come out there and broadcast it for me.
Boy, he's excited about that. I could just tell by the look on his face.
Remind me to give you a business card later.
Yeah, he'll get right on that. Yeah.
No, they'll do it.
Oh, yeah.
No, he and Taylor do this all the time.
It's in my head. Theoretically, I know how it can be done, and I know how I want it to be done. It's just actually pulling the trigger to make it happen. So
Well,
you may need to stay after me, Josh.
Yeah. Well, we do this in September on that North Texas Giving Day. You were unavailable that day.
Yeah.
But so hopefully you'll be available next
Yes.
September. God willing, if I'm still on the air. It's a month-to-month
You
thing
will be.
sometime. I hope so. That's my plan. But anyway, that's the one time we do a live show, and it's not that easy to do sometimes. I mean, you have to have plenty of prep time. As you'll find out when you go to that Chick-fil-A, even if you're just doing audio, it's still some work involved.
Absolutely.
And so there you go. But so beginning the morning of April 6th, going to the...
Tuesday the 7th is actually technically when it starts.
Okay. All right. Tuesday
7th through the 10th.
All right. So you'll be on the air. They can contact you through the phone number, contact you through the Facebook, contact you through through the website here,
Yep.
on and on and on, and it can donate X amount, and there's going to be some blessings involved in that, I'll bet. And you're going to have people talk about, well, this is what the journey means to me, and this is why I give, or this is how they help promote our nonprofit. And I'm sure you'll have Summer and Megan, like I said, maybe. Speaking of Amber and Kelly, didn't they just win a big award?
They did.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was there. In fact, I was nominated, but I didn't win.
Well, next year.
Next year. But Lacey, I was nominated for Volunteer of the Year.
Recount. We'll have a recount.
And Lacey Robles won from Myrtle's Burgers, and she's a great friend, and I was glad that she won. I was very happy for her.
Good hamburgers, too.
Yeah,
So that
very,
didn't hurt.
very good hamburgers.
You wonder if she bribed the judges. I don't know. Who knows?
Probably not.
Yeah.
Now, and speaking of being local, one of the that I like to call flexing our local muscle is I actually serve on the board for the Burleson Chamber.
Right.
And I'm the chair for the Burleson Diplomats. So very involved in these communities. We're also members of the Keene Chamber, the Cleburne Chamber, and we're looking to get in to become members of the Crowley Chamber. So I've got the application, need to fill it out and become a member. We want to be members of these chambers and also members of the ministerial alliances and partnerships with the municipalities and the schools, just so we can kind of connect with all of the pillars of our community to make ourselves available to do what we can.
Well, given the recent laws and Supreme Court rulings, you might have a little bit more latitude in going into the schools than you did maybe a couple of years ago. Because we had somebody at our BNI meeting who is starting a nonprofit of sharing biblical-based lessons during the school day.
Yeah.
You know, it's not part. It's going to be in Cleburne. It's not part of Cleburne ISD's jurisdiction, so to speak, but they are accommodating.
We've partnered with them, and we're running spots on the air for them.
So you know this.
LifeWise Academy.
Yeah, there
we're
you
running
go.
spots for them.
I
just
forgot
to
her
let
first name.
people know about
Dana. Dana is her first name, I believe?
Diana.
Diana. Okay, yeah. She came about a month ago. And, and so, yeah, absolutely.
Great
yeah.
organization.
Yeah, okay, so there you go. So you get your hands in everything, don't you?
We try.
Well, I want to run through a couple other nonprofits that you know well, and definitely support. Of course, yesterday I had Beth Littner on, who with the Friends of the Burleson Library, and Giving Days is next week. They're trying to raise $40,000 for different types of book shelving.
Okay.
Instead of your standard shelving, they want to have like these book bins where, as you can see in the picture, if you got it on Facebook right now, they have they put the books face forward as opposed to just the binding out.
That's great.
And so that way it's for little kids, and because little kids aren't going to look at the binding for a book; they look at
Like
the pictures.
going to the old record store.
Exactly. Oh, I missed that. Don't you miss going to Sound Warehouse and look at it? Yeah.
Or going to Blockbuster, picking out DVDs.
Yeah. Or I still remember VHS.
VHS. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
All right, so April 6th through 13th, we have Library Giving Days, and so be sure to check that out because they do a lot of great work. And check out yesterday's show if you want to know more about it. Also, we have this car show coming up on the 11th. It's going to be at the Next Step Women's Center. The Rotary Club is doing this, the Midday Rotary Club, and it's going to be on Tarrant, which is the location where Next Step is. But they're going to have all these old cars, and everybody loves old cars. And if you have one you want to show off, I think Josh is putting your Honda SUV in there. Is that right? The Mom-mobile?
Yeah, not a chance. The Mom-mobile. No.
I've got a Ram 1500 I'll put in there.
Oh, okay.
Everybody wants to see that.
Yeah, you betcha. I got my Honda or my Mazda from 2018. Yeah, that's a real classic. Anyway, $30 if you want to enter your car, but if you want to attend it, just show up. And everybody loves old cars. My late father loved old car shows. I'd taken a couple of these things and they'd be kind of like, this is nice. Oh, look at those cars. And then, and it's
and a lot of times there's a memory associated with it. I remember that car. That was my first car, or that's the car that your mom and I dated in. I mean, there's always a memory associated with those cars.
Well, my dad, many, many years ago, had 3 old Mustang convertibles, 64s, and they had them redone, and they're really nice. And I drove one in the Baylor homecoming parade my senior year, and and all these other dudes and the other frats are Lamborghinis or DeLoreans and all this other. But I tell you, that white Mustang convertible got all the attention.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Chick magnet.
Chick magnet. Well, if you say by repelling chicks, yeah. Okay. Are you kidding me? I was too busy studying my scripture to be dating at Baylor.
Sure. Yeah, right.
Well, let's just say the girls were glad to give me all the time I needed to study scripture.
There you go.
All right. Anyway, then you have, come on. There we go. Lay up tonight. That same day, later that night. So you go by, look at some cars, and go light up the night at the Righ with those with the Center for ASD. They were on last Thursday.
Yeah.
Kayla and Miranda, they're a couple sisters that work there. And Lisa normally does a show, but apparently she had a toothache, which is bad timing. And as a recent victim of one, I felt her pain.
Yeah.
But anyway, they're going to have Pet and Zoo and DJ Tay, that young hip Josh over here says is the business or whatever. He's gas. Is that it?
Wow.
Oh, brother.
And I'm trying to be hip, man.
You need a hip replacement.
I need it, really. Oh,
but don't.
There you go. Anyway, also food trucks, vendors, the whole thing. It's a great organization. They do really good work. They're in the old Crestmont Baptist Church, and I forgot the name of the new church. The church.
Yes.
Crestmont moved on, and
I know the pastor.
Christ
I can't
Culture?
remember the name of it.
What now?
Is it Christ Culture?
Christ Culture is
Yes, it
correct.
is.
There you go. See,
Ding, 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 ding.
All right.
Give him
All
a
right.
prize.
All right. So I'm trying to hook up a time with them because they're new to the community, and it'd be a good time to introduce them. Also, Walk for Life, of course, on the 18th. It's also on Tarrant. You dress up in like the 80s, and I'm dressing like the 80s. I'm good to go.
I'm planning to wear my little leotards and my best flash dancer outfit.
Well, that's a mental image I didn't need, but still,
You're welcome.
still,
I will be there though. By the way, I
sure.
will be there. We're going to be providing music and kind of emceeing or DJing that day. We'll be there. It's
You'll
gonna
be
a lot of
doing the
fun.
grooves thing going with the hand wave. Anyway, there's a QR code. Sign up for that. Get sponsors. I think Megan put something on Facebook today about be sure to get sponsors. I'm going to check the date here, make sure I get it right, because I know they're on pretty soon. Looking up here, I have them. Hey, go to April 9th. That's a week from Thursday, April 9th. So we'll be talking about not just the car show, certainly, but also the Walk for Life. That's their big deal. And then they have that gala, and they always have a very good speaker. You've been to that gala, I bet.
Yeah, I emceed 2 years ago.
Well, you got to do it again.
Yeah,
I mean, and they're really good. They know how to get to me personally, because there's a young couple that's involved with Walk for Life, the Bond family, and I had both of them as students, and they put me at the table, and I can't tell Lauren Bond no, so I tearfully write out the check.
Yeah, right.
So there you go. They know that they're taking advantage of my soft heart, but whatever. And we have Vineyard Vibes with Amber and Kelly and the Harvest House over at Lost Oak. And that's a big deal. That's on the 26th. And they're going to have all sorts of stuff, live music. I know the 7-6 band is going to be there, rocking the joint with Mike Perdue and his crew. And they're going to have, obviously, wine there. And they're going to, some of the proceeds, you get donations. Okay, you can donate. You can go up there and they have like a tip jar for Harvest House, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then you can, enjoy your afternoon there. And I've done this 2 or 3 times. And it's always it's a nice, relaxing day, actually. It's not high pressure at all. And one last one we have, and that's mine, the golf tournament for the Burleson Opportunity Fund on May 1st, which is a Friday over at Hidden Creek. $800 per team, 200 individual. If you want to sponsor a hole, $500, the banner sponsors, all the whole 9 yards. So this goes to help young people in the Burleson area go to Hill College, at least for 1 year. I know that Daniel Penticus is on the show in about 3 weeks, and we'll be talking about how that's working. It's becoming more expensive, to be frank, because, as everything, tuition rises. And like we were talking about earlier, some people are feeling the pinch, so we have decisions to make. And we'll be talking about that tomorrow at a meeting, and also, so I'll have more information about how we want to proceed next week. But we will have the golf tournament. We will have our breakfast. That's the big one in October. We have you got to come to that sometime.
Yeah, I need to. We promoted it. We talked about it, but I couldn't make it.
Well,
can I mention one more thing before we're done? I forgot to mention this about our spring celebration. If anyone listening, or if you're a business listening, we do what we call our match challenges, and throughout the fundraiser, we'll say, "Hey, this hour, if you call in and you make your best gift, then." Again, I'm just going to use you. Brad and Robin are going to match everything that comes in dollar for dollar up to whatever the amount is that you give. So if it's $1,000 or $1,500, we have some people who are going to. They say we're going to ultimately give $5,000, but let's break that up into 3 different $1,500 matches.
Yeah.
And so what we'll do is we'll say, if you want to give a gift, everything that you give is going to be matched dollar for dollar up to $1,500. So for that hour, we raise $1,000, then we match it with $1,000. So if you have a business or if you would like to be a part of that, it's just kind of fun. You can contact us. 883thejourney.org is our website. My email address, it's easy. It's rich@883thejourney.org. You can contact me. We can give you more information.
Well, Summer and Megan tell us they have this. Sometimes people just kind of come and make this offer to them.
Yeah.
It's not really connected to some special date or anything. They just said, look, I feel like it, given I'll put $10,000 up and they'll have a matching thing. I think they do that. They did a big deal like that in January or February. It was recent. I think it was February, where they had like a matching fund, and they were pushing pretty hard to try to get matching funds to double their money, basically. Yeah. And there's a lot of good things going on in this community. You picked a good place to have a radio station of your kind, because there's a lot of people that really want to see this community work, and that's why I'm really blessed to be part of it in this sense, because I get to see all of it from a global perspective. Not everybody gets to see it like I do, because they're got their lives, they got their own things going on, and I get to sit there and watch and there's a lot of selfless and hardworking people in this community.
There is.
So I'm looking forward to it next week. Let's see, I am going to have our friends on the chamber. Melissa and Candace will be on next Monday. Yeah. And they got that honey tour coming up, and they're working at that, and they also have all those events. You know them well, so. Yeah, how often do y'all meet? About once a week, or once or 2 weeks? Something like that?
Depending on who you're talking about,
but like your diplomats.
Once a month we meet as diplomats. Once a month as a team, but then we also do what we call random acts of kindness. Once a month we go out and just thank businesses for being part of the chamber. This morning was the Business Over Breakfast, which is a big event for us. The very last Tuesday of every month at the Brick, and it's just a big event. 90 to 100 people that'll be there for. It's kind of it's a networking event, but it's also everybody gets time to go around and talk about what they do. And
right,
it's a lot of fun.
Well, I always have class on Tuesdays. It seems like I had my 8 o'clock class at DBU this morning. Not well attended, doggone it, but that's their problem. Well, kids. It's like,
oh yeah,
that's a whole nother conversation. I could do a whole hour show on what COVID did to education.
Yeah,
but that's.
I remember when I was in college, 8 o'clock classes, I took them because I had to, not because I wanted to.
Oh, yeah.
That's the time it was being offered, so I had to get up and do it.
I get some athletes because of their training schedules and such as that. They don't have time for afternoon classes and whatnot. And it just, my first semester at Baylor, I got all 8 o'clock classes across all 5 days, because I thought I'm going to get up, I'm going to have my studies done by, classes done by 12:30. Eat lunch, study all afternoon, and then have the nights to myself. You know exactly what happened within a week.
Yeah.
I go home and sack out for 3 hours, and then, okay, I'm going to study. Hey, we're playing some ball. Okay, I'll go out there, and I'll study later.
Oh, yeah.
And much to my dad's chagrin. But I'm glad you came by.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
And I know you're going to do well. God's going to bless your work.
Thank you.
He already has. I know, and I could personally attest to the blessings that your radio station gives. So I appreciate that. Josh, thank you for all your screen leisure domain.
Anytime.
Yeah, and if you want to talk to them about live things, they'll give you the lowdown. I don't really know much about it, other than I just show up and go, you bet. And so there you go. Like I said, next Monday I have Melissa and Candace from the Chamber, and then next Thursday, a week from Thursday, I have Megan and Summer from Next Step with all their stuff. April is fairly booked up. I got a couple other nonprofits. Also have Colin Gregory in about 3 weeks, and he always has great stuff. And
he's a great guy.
Yeah, so
a lot of fun.
All righty. Thank you all, and we will see y'all Monday.